Now, there is no doubt about it that a lot of actors, actresses, writers, directors, and producers and more, like comedians for example, they just don't seem to be learning from their mistakes after getting overly political and forcing their politics onto the general public, and just how much it's backfiring on their careers by either losing projects, losing fans, losing various opportunities out there to expand their work, and they just keep doubling down on the anti-Trump messaging campaign, especially with the most recent No Kings protest that took place on October 18th. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, also, ever since the assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, we have, without a doubt, have seen a major shift within Hollywood, and not for the better. We've seen a lot of actors using this as an opportunity to politicize the entire situation, and to really just use it as a way to slam President Donald Trump and the entire administration, and it's all getting very much boring, right? Very exhausting to see such actors acting this way, and that's exactly why people are no longer supporting their work. Now, what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Jane Fonda and the No Kings protest, and how Charlie Kirk comments already backfired yet again, to the point where she was actually booed off the street, and even more. Let's get into this. Now, what's interesting about Jane Fonda is that we know that she's been pretty much this way since the 70s, but there's no doubt about it that within the past 10 years, she definitely got more extreme. I would definitely say so. There's no way of really, putting that in a more simple way of saying it, but we know that there's a lot of things going on right now with Jane Fonda, trying to revitalize her acting career that's not working in any way, shape, or form. However, ever since the assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, and most recently the No Kings protest on October 18th, just 2 days ago, many Hollywood celebrities have been using this as a way to push their anti-Trump messaging campaign, which is backfiring on their acting careers. One major development going on now involves more to do with Jane Fonda receiving tons of backlash after she took part in the No Kings protest, after she brought up comments and remarks toward Charlie Kirk. It turns out that Jane Fonda was booed by dozens and dozens of those part of a live crowd in SoCal after the No Kings protest, after she actually shouted out comments about how Trump was using Charlie Kirk's assassination to advance his political status and his administration. Fonda also went on about how Trump was pure evil for shutting down the border, and delivered these comments at a live crowd. Now get this, it turns out that this all backfired, where dozens of Trump supporters and independents even decided to call out Jane Fonda as a fraud and told her to get off the street. Fonda was seen quickly rushing away from the live crowd, who later then booed her off the street, essentially, where she ran off to another location within the No Kings protest. Not so shockingly, Jane Fonda was going off again about Trump turning Charlie Kirk's memorial, this time, into a political rally all about himself, and calling many of both Kirk and Trump supporters as un-American and supporting fascism. More Trump supporters and independents, which also consisted of dozens, decided to boo at Jane Fonda, consistently with a type of persistence that forced Jane Fonda to leave the entire street, where Jane Fonda reportedly shouted a series of curse words before begging, of course, to actually just back off, and even being escorted off the street from those surrounding her and to protect her, which were likely her bodyguards, by the way. Already others like Robert De Niro and many other top-name actors are actually deciding to actually engage in all of this, and are receiving endless backlash for acting out during the No Kings protest that took place around the country yet again, and yet brought in thousands for SoCal. Now, let me just stop there for 1 second. Now, we know one thing about Jane Fonda is that this isn't the first time that she's done something like this. Now, we know that the last time she did something like this, she got in a lot of trouble, I believe, to the point where she was in cuffs, and that really went out of control. That was years ago. But we know one thing about Jane Fonda is that, yes, she's been an activist for years. This is nothing really surprising at all. This is nothing new at all in the slightest. However, as a result of Jane Fonda's behavior, get this, her affiliation now with a project that's been in the works with Apple Studios is reportedly no longer, of course, in production, and is immediately on hold, and all conversations have come to a pause. A project that was also going to involve other A-list stars and B-list actors actors that was soon to be announced and titled by the end of this month. Now, these are the very consequences that Jane Fonda are now facing as a result of engaging in not just the No Kings protest to tarnish Charlie Kirk's legacy, but also to make endless lies about Trump supporters, and Charlie Kirk supporters as well, by saying such inflammatory comments and curse words toward the general public and the live crowd. Studios like Apple Studios are reportedly repulsed by Jane Fonda and decided to pull, of course, their project and to put it on hold after learning about how HBO decided to blacklist Jane Fonda and fired her from her fitness series. Now, guys, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but that was something that happened 3 weeks ago, where HBO finally decided to take action toward an actress like Jane Fonda, and said no more to all this nonsense because of all these actresses and actors really just trying to go out of their way to mock Charlie Kirk or to politicize the entire assassination that took place over a month ago at this point. And it really just goes to show you that they really have no remorse, right? We know that people like Jane Fonda, Robert De Niro, and so many others out there like Tom Hanks, Stephen King, they really have no remorse at all for what they have to say. And the only reason that they will ever apologize, like Stephen King did, for example, is because, well, they were losing business. In Stephen King's case, books were being actually forced off store shelves, and he was basically put into a position where he had to apologize to keep things on an even keel, and it didn't really help at all. Now, in conclusion, more No Kings protests are already in the planning for 2026 within the first quarter, and Jane Fonda, Robert De Niro, and among others are actually planning to attend yet again to deliver their political views that will continue to backfire on their acting careers no matter what. Now, it seems like that they just don't care about what's going to happen to their acting career. Now, look, Jane Fonda, she's way up there in age. I don't see why she would really care about her acting career at this point, but it seems like she does, because she's trying to revitalize it. She's been trying to make a deal with HBO and Apple Studios. It's not working. You know, she's 87 years old right now. I don't even know why she's pursuing this, but she is. It probably has something to do with the fact that she's very much a self-absorbed individual, a very narcissistic individual that always has to be in the public eye and has to have that stardom power all the time. That's just how it is. And again, we know that Robert De Niro, he's actively working on Meet the Fockers 4. It's called Focker in Law. And I can only imagine how that's going to perform at the box office the more times he continues to take part in the No Kings protests. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about Jane Fonda getting booed off the street by a live crowd, by a lot of Trump supporters and independents that actually decide to rush over there and to call out a lot of these actors and actresses taking part in this. And that just goes to show you that, you know, there's a lot of actors that really just will do whatever they have to do, basically, to get their word out. And it's going to keep, on backfire on their careers, whether it's for the movies or for television shows. We know that Mark Ruffalo is just as bad as another example. But I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I will catch you guys later.